In today's video, we're going to be going over the top 10 strangest animals created by humans. At number 10, pigs with half-human blood. The Mayo Clinic in Minnesota injected human stem cells into pig fetuses and successfully created the first pig with half-human blood flowing through its veins. The purpose of their experiment was to see how human and pig cells would interact when they were fused together. They discovered that some of the cells stayed separate, and their new hybrid creature had purely human and purely pig-sourced cells in different parts of its body. But others fused together to make DNA that had never been seen before. The result was an animal that looked like a pig on the outside, but on the inside it had half human, half pig cells throughout its body. In particular, the animal had a type of blood that the world had never seen, created out of the fusion of human and pig DNA.
Biology in pigs, so pig is a good animal to start with.
At number 9, the human mouse. In March of 2020, Japan loosened its guidelines, lifting a 2-week limit on the growth of human-animal chimeras and allowing the transplantation of chimeric embryos or hybrids into animals, but not humans. Pending approval, a Japanese stem cell scientist, Hiromitsu Noguchi, plans to insert human stem cells into mice or rats in an attempt to grow a human pancreas in the animal. As a safeguard, if too many human cells creep into the rat's brains, the experiment will be stopped.
Is working well. According to the research team, this stage is critical. They won't be able to complete this stage if Japan doesn't approve the next phase in the project. So that means changing the rules a little bit.
At number 8, the mouse with an ear on its back. A mouse with a human ear on its back was bioengineered by a team of Harvard and MIT scientists in 1997. The scientists put a scaffolding in the shape of a human ear inside the mouse. It was made of biodegradable materials, so the scaffolding was slowly absorbed into the mouse's body, making an actual biological ear of cartilage and flesh that theoretically could have been surgically removed and grafted onto a human being. And that was the plan too. The scientists had started the project as a way to help plastic surgeons, who have a hard time reconstructing human ears. They wanted to create the ear on a mouse and then graft it onto a person, giving a human being an ear made of animal cartilage and flesh. At number 7, pigs and sheep with human organs. One of the biggest goals in making human-animal hybrids is to create a farm of animals that can be harvested for human hearts and lungs. In the US, this is a major field of science right now, though it's still a little controversial around the world. Hiromitsu Noguchi, one of the leading scientists working on the project, had to leave his home country of Japan for America because his work is illegal in his homeland. But in America, his work is encouraged. The US Army gave him a $1.4 million grant. In 2017, they created 186 embryos for a pig-human hybrid, and right now, they're working on a sheep-human hybrid. Every creature they make is only allowed to develop for 28 days.
Use of public funds for genetic hybrid research in 2015. But 22 people in the United States die every day waiting for an organ transplant. If the ethical concerns can be dealt with.
At number 6, goats and cows that lactate human milk. In 2009, Russian and Belarusian scientists genetically modified goats to produce human breast milk. They weren't able to make the milk 100% human, but they were able to fill it with human cells, creating milk that had 60% of the lysozyme and lactoferrin that characterize human milk. And they weren't the only people who did this. Shortly after, a Chinese team made a whole herd of 300 cattle that produced human milk. The goal was to get human breast milk on grocery store shelves. The scientists wanted a way to harvest human breast milk on an assembly line, sure that people would flock to the stores for the chance to buy a bottle for the family. The Russian team even advertised that its human milk made delicious cheese. At number 5, mice with human livers. In 2010, researchers at the Salk Institute created a mouse with an almost entirely human liver. Then they injected the animal with every disease they could. The goal of the project was to run experiments on diseases like malaria and hepatitis B and C that can only affect humans and chimpanzees. In the past, researchers had only been able to do animal testing for these diseases on chimpanzees. They hoped they could avoid a few complaints from ethics boards if they could do the experiments on mice. It's up for debate as to which approach is more humane. After creating the mutant mice, the researchers deliberately infected them with hepatitis B and C. Then the researchers tried to treat the illnesses they'd injected into the animals' bodies. At number 4, the rabbit man grown in a dish. The first successful human-animal hybrid was developed in a laboratory dish in Shanghai in 2003. A team of scientists fused human cells in rabbit eggs, creating the embryos of a new creature that was half rabbit and half human. They certainly weren't the first people to try it. Scientists in the United States had been racing against them, attempting to make animal-human hybrids of their own, but none survived. The Shanghai team was the first to pull it off. It was unique when compared to other experiments too, because the vast majority of the DNA in the creatures growing inside their rabbit eggs was human. Just a small amount of DNA was taken from rabbits, meaning that whatever came out of it would have been more man than animal. At number 3, the human-chimpanzee hybrid. 2 scientists from Shenyang have claimed that they participated in an experiment in which they successfully impregnated a female chimpanzee with human sperm. Their goal was to create a new, more highly evolved chimpanzee with a larger brain and a wider mouth. Ultimately, they hoped that their new creature would be able to speak. The human Z wasn't exactly going to be treated well. Their plan was to use it as a slave by making it drive carts and herd sheep. They also wanted to send it off on experiments in space. The project fell apart because of the Cultural Revolution. Zealous revolutionaries smashed their lab and destroyed their work, and the chimpanzee died before she could come to term. At number 2, monkeys with human neural cells. In 2007, Yale put human neural stem cells into 5 monkeys to see how it would affect Parkinson's disease. Medically, the results were very positive. The monkeys, all of which suffered from the disease, could walk, eat, and move better than before. They had significantly fewer problems with tremors, and it all came with no tumours or toxic side effects whatsoever. And at number 1, mice with half-human brains. In 2014, a team of researchers gave mice millions of human brain cells. The researchers replaced almost every cell in the mouse brains with human cells, leaving only the original mouse neurons intact. Once inside, the human cells almost completely took over the mouse brains. Within a year, their glial cells had been completely replaced by human brain cells. Each mouse had about 12 million human cells at work inside their strange hybrid brains.